The impossible relic. The Galactic Exploration Coalition had cataloged over 14,000 worlds, and nearly all of them fit neatly into expectation. Some were barren rocks, some were lush paradises, some were mildly hostile but workable with the right technology. Even death worlds, Class 7, Class 9, even the rare Class 12 were understood. Dangerous, yes. Survivable, theoretically. Class 15 was different. Class 15 worlds were not meant to exist. When the long-range probes of Survey Flotilla Theta 9 flagged the unnamed system, the initial data was dismissed as sensor error. The planet's gravity alone exceeded survivable thresholds by nearly 30%. Its atmosphere was a toxic slurry of corrosive compounds, radioactive particulates, and pressure systems that would crush most known life forms instantly. The surface temperature fluctuated violently, swinging from freezing darkness to volcanic heat within a single rotation. No civilization could arise there. That was doctrine. And yet, something massive orbited it. Captain Velrix of the GEC survey vessel, Silent Measure, stared at the projection in disbelief as the object resolved into clarity. It was a ship. No, a warship, larger than most Coalition dreadnoughts, hanging in low orbit like a watchful predator at rest. It hasn't drifted, Velrix said slowly. That orbit is intentional. The bridge fell silent. The vessel was ancient by Coalition standards. Its hull bore scars from micrometeor impacts, radiation scoring, and what looked disturbingly like weapons fire. Yet it remained intact. Layer upon layer of dense armor plating overlapped like scales, crude in appearance, but undeniably functional. This was not a ship designed for elegance or efficiency. It was designed to endure. Initial scans revealed no active shields, no energy signatures beyond faint residual power deep within the hull. No transponder codes matched anything in the Coalition archives. The ship's silhouette defied standard construction logic. Thick, compact, built around redundancy rather than optimization. A relic, one of the science officers murmured. A dead species' last monument. Velrix wasn't convinced. He had spent decades charting ruins left behind by extinct civilizations, and they all shared one common trait: decay. This ship showed no such surrender. It looked ready. The planet below churned beneath perpetual storms. Lightning crawled across continent-wide cloud systems. Massive tectonic fractures glowed faintly with molten light. Sensors detected seismic activity that would have shattered most crusts entirely. Confirm classification, Velrix ordered. The response came back cold and official. Planetary classification confirmed. Class-15 Deathworld. Theoretical maximum hostility. No known sentient life possible. That should have ended the discussion. Instead, the presence of the ship demanded answers. The Coalition's mission mandate was clear: investigate anomalies, document, and withdraw if necessary. Against the quiet objections of several junior officers, Velrix authorized closer approach. Boarding teams were prepared, their armor reinforced far beyond standard exploratory loadouts. As the Silent Measure drew nearer, finer details emerged. Weapon ports, dozens of them, lined the hull, sealed but unmistakable. Massive spinal mounts ran the length of the ship, suggesting firepower intended for direct confrontation, not deterrence. This wasn't built to explore, Velrix said. This was built to fight. A breach was selected near what appeared to be an auxiliary access corridor. Cutting lasers bit into the outer hull, and the reaction was immediate. Automated systems rerouted power, reinforcing the surrounding structure as if resisting intrusion despite centuries of silence. That's impossible, the engineer muttered. It's adapting. Eventually, the hull yielded. The boarding team entered a corridor barely wide enough for their armored forms. The interior was stark, utilitarian, and unsettlingly intact. Surfaces bore wear marks, not erosion, but use. Handholds were worn smooth. Floors showed repeated stress fractures, repaired again and again. This place wasn't abandoned in panic, the lead Marine reported. It was maintained. As they advanced, environmental readings spiked and fell erratically. Gravity fluctuated in controlled pulses, briefly surging far beyond coalition norms before settling again. To the boarding team, it felt like being crushed, released, and crushed again. Why would anyone design conditions like this? A scientist whispered. Further in, they found the first log terminal. The interface was alien, yet strangely intuitive. Physical input combined with adaptive light patterns. When power was rerouted, the console flickered to life. The reactor's status registered not as dormant, but standby. Still warm. A low hum resonated through the ship, deep and resonant, like something massive stirring in its sleep. Emergency lights activated along the corridor, bathing the walls in a harsh white glow. Velrix felt a chill creep through his frills. "This ship isn't a tomb," he said quietly. "It's a sentry." On the bridge, alarms began to sound as an automated signal pulsed outward, not toward open space, but downward, aimed precisely at the hostile world below. Whatever had built this warship had not vanished. They had simply gone planetside, and the Coalition, confident in its classifications and charts, had just announced its presence to something born on a world the galaxy believed impossible to live on. Far below, beneath crushing gravity and raging storms, something ancient received the signal and began to wake. Ghosts of a living world. The first thing Captain Velrix noticed was the silence. Not the expected vacuum hush of a derelict, but a deliberate quiet. Systems idling, life support dormant yet intact, as if the ship itself were holding its breath. The emergency lights cast long, sharp shadows down the corridor, illuminating walls reinforced far beyond Coalition standards. Every surface bore the mark of endurance rather than decay. The boarding team advanced slowly. Gravity surged again without warning, slamming down with crushing force. Even through powered armor, several Marines staggered. Readout spiked into red before stabilizing. "This is intentional," the lead engineer said over the comm. "The ship's gravity grid is cycling. Training protocols, maybe training." The word settled uneasily among them. They passed compartments that appeared to be communal quarters. Bunks were compact, reinforced, and surrounded by restraint frames, designed to keep occupants in place during violent maneuvers or extreme gravitational shifts. Lockers contained equipment far heavier than Coalition standard issue. Blunt-edged tools, projectile weapons with thick barrels, and armor plates layered until they resembled personal bunkers. Whoever lived here expected things to go wrong. Velrix murmured from the bridge feed. Further inside, the team reached a medical bay. It was pristine. Diagnostic tables showed signs of repeated use. Surgical implements were thick, almost brutal, yet precise. Data fragments recovered from cracked storage units began to resolve into translated concepts rather than language. Bone reinforcement, muscle density thresholds, controlled exposure to trauma. One of the scientists stared at the display in horror. These aren't emergency procedures. They are routine. They moved on. In a sealed compartment near the ship's core, they found remains. The bodies were long dead, reduced to skeletal forms, but even in death they were unsettling. The bones were dense, far denser than any known sapient species. Fracture lines showed extensive healing, sometimes multiple breaks over the same region, mended again and again. These individuals survived injuries that would kill most Coalition species outright, the xenobiologist said quietly. Repeatedly, Velrix felt the creeping collapse of certainty. What kind of world produces this? As if an answer, sensor data streamed in from planetary scans below. What had initially been dismissed as geological noise began to organize into patterns. Heat blooms too regular to be natural. Electromagnetic fluctuations that matched industrial output. "Captain," the navigation officer said carefully, "we're detecting structured emissions from the surface, beneath the storm layers. Cities, hidden deep, shielded from radiation and pressure, clinging to a world that should have scoured them away." The boarding team reached the command deck. Massive chairs, throne-like in their reinforcement, faced forward. Control surfaces were scarred, not from neglect, but from impact. Something heavy had been thrown against them during maneuvers that defied sane piloting parameters. The main display flickered to life as power levels rose without manual input. A log entry began to play, its audio distorted but unmistakably intentional. Rotation complete. Atmospheric toxicity within acceptable margins. Gravitational variance at peak thresholds. Recommend surface rotations remain under 6 hours to prevent cumulative damage. Velrix stared. Surface rotations? They were going down there, he whispered, regularly. Another log activated automatically. Orbital sentry functioning as designed. No external contact detected. Continue observation protocol. Observation. Not defense. Not exile. Watching. Before Velrix could process the implication, alarms flared across the silent measure. The ship they were boarding pulsed with energy as dormant systems awakened fully. Power surged into weapons arrays, though none targeted the Coalition fleet. Instead, a focused transmission burst launched from the warship, slicing cleanly through atmospheric interference and vanishing toward the planet below. Signal confirmed, the comm officer reported. It's a beacon. Authentication level encryption. The lead Marine's voice came tight over the channel. Captain, this thing wasn't abandoned. It was waiting. Against protocol, Velrix authorized a surface reconnaissance. Dropships descended through violent turbulence, their shields screaming under constant assault. 2 were forced to abort. 1 made it through. What awaited them was worse than any projection. The terrain itself was hostile, shifting ground, corrosive rain, predators that attacked without hesitation. And then, through the storm, movement. Figures emerged from reinforced structures half buried in rock. Bipedal, armored, moving with ease and gravity that crushed Coalition soldiers to their knees. They carried weapons, solid, kinetic, devastating. Unknown life forms confirmed, the ground team gasped. They're not just surviving, they're thriving. The first attempt at contact failed. Translation matrices lagged, misreading intent. A warning gesture was interpreted as aggression. The response was immediate and precise. Disabling fire tore through Coalition equipment without unnecessary lethality. The message was unmistakable. Leave or be stopped. From orbit, Velrix watched the feeds in stunned silence as the truth finally took shape. This was no extinct civilization. This was a people who had chosen to remain unseen, guarded by a ship designed to endure the impossible. And now, ignorant of the boundaries they had crossed, the Coalition had announced itself to a species forged by a Class-15 world. Below the storms, the defenders turned their eyes upward, toward the stars that had finally come looking for them. Deathworlders answer. The Coalition dropship limped back into orbit, trailing scorched plating and fractured shields. It docked with the silent measure in near silence, its surviving crew shaken and bruised despite advanced medical support. No one spoke at first. They didn't need to. The footage told the story. The beings on the surface moved like the planet itself, violent, unrelenting, and perfectly adapted. Where Coalition soldiers struggled against gravity and corrosive rain, the armored figures advanced steadily, weapons braced with practiced ease. They communicated with sharp hand signals and short vocal bursts, every motion efficient. These are not primitives, Velrix said quietly, replaying the encounter frame by frame. They are trained. As if to underscore his words, the ancient warship they had boarded completed its awakening cycle. Power signatures surged across its hull. Weapon arrays extended, not in threat, but in readiness. The ship oriented itself between the Coalition flotilla and the planet below. A shield. Captain, the tactical officer said, voice tight, it's assuming a defensive posture. The implications were chilling. This vessel had not been left behind because it was obsolete. It had been left because it was sufficient. The bridge alarms fell silent as an incoming transmission pierced Coalition encryption protocols with unsettling ease. The signal was narrow-band, tightly focused, and unmistakably deliberate. A figure appeared on the main display. It was bipedal, compact, encased in layered armor marked by wear and repair. The face beneath the helmet was exposed. Flat features, forward-facing eyes, expressions that betrayed neither fear nor hostility. Just attention. This is Commander Elena Reyes, the figure said, voice steady despite the distortion. You are operating within restricted orbital space. State your intent. The translation software struggled, then locked into place. Velrix stood slowly. I am Captain Velrix of the Galactic Exploration Coalition. We believe this system uninhabited. Reyes's eyes flicked briefly to something off-screen before returning. Then your classification system is flawed, she replied. And your presence here is a violation. A murmur rippled across the bridge. You built the orbital vessel, Velrix said carefully. We assumed it was a relic. A faint smile touched the commander's face, but it carried no warmth. That ship is older than my species' first unified government, she said. It still works? That should have told you something. Before Velrix could respond, additional signals bloomed across the sensor grid. One by one, energy signatures rose from the planet's surface. Hidden launch silos cracked open beneath layers of rock and reinforced shielding. Vessels ascended through the storms, their hulls dense, angular, and unmistakably kin to the Sentinel in orbit. There were dozens, then hundreds. These are not warships, the tactical officer whispered in disbelief. They're multi-purpose platforms, civilian-rated hulls, civilian ships built to survive Class-15 conditions, carried enough armor to shame coalition cruisers. Commander Reyes continued, her tone calm but edged with iron. You discovered one of our early Sentry vessels. Its purpose was simple. Watch the stars while we decided whether we were ready to join them. Join them? Velrix echoed. We learned early, Reyes said, that survival shapes behavior. Our world forced us to become resilient, aggressive when necessary. We observe your coalition from a distance. Your conflicts, your collapses, your assumptions. She leaned slightly forward. We chose not to interfere. A tactical display flared to life, projected directly into coalition systems without permission. It showed historical data, human observational records of galactic wars, extinction events, and reckless expansions. You classified our home as unlivable, Reyes said. We classified it as a filter. Velrix felt the weight of that settle over him. And now, he asked. Now you boarded one of our defenses and deployed troops to our surface, Reyes replied. That forced a response. She raised one armored hand. Instantly, the ascending vessels halted their climb, holding position in disciplined formation. This is that response, she said. Measured, restrained. The warship between them pulsed again, its weapon arrays locking into passive alignment. The message was unmistakable. Escalation was a choice, not an inevitability. We could remove you, Reyes continued. But you came seeking knowledge, not conquest. That matters. Velrix bowed his head slightly, a gesture of respect rarely given. What do you call yourselves? He asked. The commander's expression shifted, something ancient and resolute passing through her gaze. We are human, she said, and we are native to this world you labeled impossible. Silence gripped the bridge. Reyes concluded with a final statement, transmitted not just to the silent measure, but across all coalition channels. You found our ship, ignorant of who built it. Consider this your correction. Humanity already lived here, and we are done hiding. The transmission ended. Around the planet, human vessels held steady, silent, and watchful. For the first time in its long history, the Galactic Exploration Coalition understood it was no longer the most dangerous presence in the system. It was merely the guest. When maps become warnings. The Galactic Council chamber had been built to inspire balance. Its vast circular hull placed every species at equal distance from the center, a symbolic reminder that no single civilization stood above the rest. For millennia, it had worked, at least in appearance. Today, that illusion cracked. Captain Velrix stood alone at the center dais, his recorded testimony echoing through the chamber. Behind him, a projection replayed sensor logs, visual feeds, and intercepted transmissions from the Class-15 system. No embellishment, no interpretation, just facts. The ancient Sentinel ship activating. The gravity-defying cities beneath the storms. The human fleet rising from a world the Council had deemed impossible. When the projection ended, silence ruled the chamber. A Class-15 world cannot sustain sapient life, declared the Threxian counselor at last, mandibles clicking in agitation. Our models are absolute. They were incomplete, Velrix replied. Humanity did not adapt to the world. They adapted themselves. Murmurs rippled outward. The feed shifted to a live transmission. Commander Elena Reyes appeared once more, framed not by weapons or threats, but by a simple backdrop of reinforced alloy and subdued lighting. She stood straight, unflinching beneath the weight of 1,000,000,000 eyes. We come without hostility, Reyes said, but not without clarity. The Council attempted to assert protocol, formal greetings, recognition ceremonies, layered diplomatic phrasing, but Reyes cut through it with practiced precision. You classified our home as a dead end, she continued. We accepted that. It kept us safe while we learned restraint. A new display filled the chamber. Human history condensed into brutal clarity. Early wars, near-extinction events, environmental collapse narrowly avoided through sacrifice and unity. We almost destroyed ourselves, Reyes said plainly. So we stopped looking outward and learned how to survive inward. Several counselors shifted uncomfortably. You ask why we hid, she went on. Because we know what we become when threatened. And we saw a galaxy that wasn't ready for that. A counselor from a pacifist species spoke, voice trembling. Are you a conqueror species? Reyes shook her head. No, conquerors run from their worlds. We mastered ours. That statement carried more weight than any threat. She gestured, and the image shifted to the Sentinel warship orbiting the Class-15 planet. That vessel was one of our first guardians, she said. Built when reaching orbit was a victory, not a convenience. It watched the stars while we debated whether joining them would do more harm than good. Another counselor leaned forward. And now you came to us, Reyes replied. Not the other way around. A pause. We will not punish curiosity, she continued, but we will correct assumptions. The Council's scientific committee presented emergency findings. Class-15 was officially struck from the theoretical category. In its place, a new designation formed, one that unsettled every delegate present. Human-compatible extreme world. If humanity could arise on such a planet, what else might be possible? Velrix watched as the Council voted, unanimously, to recognize humanity as a sovereign stellar power. Trade offers, research accords, and defensive treaties flooded the channels almost instantly. Reyes raised a hand. We will accept limited contact, she said. On our terms. No colonization. No forced integration. Observation goes both ways. The implication was clear. Humanity would be watching the galaxy now, just as it always had. Before the session concluded, one final data package transmitted from human space. It contained schematics, not of the ancient Sentinel ship, but of modern human vessels. The Sentinel, humanity explained, was obsolete. Counselors recoiled as they realized what that meant. Reyes delivered her final words calmly, without pride or menace. We are not monsters, she said. We are survivors, and we are very good at surviving monsters. The transmission ended. In the days that followed, galactic star charts were quietly updated. The once ignored system gained a warning marker rather than a trade beacon. Explorers were advised to maintain distance. Militaries revised doctrines. Scientists rewrote textbooks. The galaxy had discovered that its deadliest mistake was not hostility toward humanity. It was underestimating them. They had found a Class-15 Deathworld ship and assumed it marked extinction. Instead, it marked patience. Humanity had lived there all along, waiting for the day the stars finally came close enough to matter.